freshly peeled orange, cut into multiple pieces, ready for eating. I'd like to ask you a question. I ask this question often. What would you do with the $600 million of DAI that's in the PulseChain sacrifice wallet? I want to ask you what you would do. Now, I want to let you know the right answer carries risk. That means there is no right answer. Everything carries risk. And just so you know, many people, so if you're new to crypto, most people will say, well, I will just pump the bags. Unfortunately, you can't. Why? If you had $600 million, what happens is $600 million doesn't actually represent 600 million in market cap. I know it sounds crazy. So let's say everybody agreed not to buy. 600 million, right, would be 0.6 billion. If you just straight out hit market, you said, hey, everybody, nobody's allowed to click sell. Based off the liquidity, I'm just giving you a rough estimate, right? You would get about 20 billion market cap. Bang. 20 billion for the ecosystem. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Yeah, it would. But it's more nuanced than that, because if you were able to just shoot it up, people just sell it down. They go, oh, sweet, you just transferred money from a wallet into the liquidity pool. The price goes up. I'm out. See you later. I'll continue on with my life. That's the reality of the situation. So you have to be a bit more strategic with how you do it. Look, there's no right answer. And if we all go to zero, it is what it is. But I want to let you know, you can't just hand that out. You can't. Even though it's DAI and it's a stable coin. You spend your bullets, you waste your bullets on nothing. Now, this is what I will do. I would use it to buy Ethereum. That's what I would do. $600 million. So let's say Ethereum was like 1650, 600 million, right? $600 million going into that. Let's say you got to pay a price of like $1,700 for Ethereum. You get like 350,000 Ethereum. 350,000. Almost makes me think, was Ricardo Corazon waiting for Bitcoin to hit 10K so he could buy Ethereum at $500? That makes me think, because then he'd have like 1 million Ethereum. He'd have like 1% of the whole Ethereum, and then he could stake it and get the yield. That's something I'm thinking about. But it's not too late, man. Ethereum's strong. It is what it is. That's what I'll personally do. Now, what I would also do, so you got to think, okay, what's the whole goal? The whole goal is we want people to participate in the network of the coins you hold. Pulse, PulseX, Hex. So always this question gets brought up. Why do the VCs spend their money on marketing budgets to get people to buy bags so they can dump? Why do they do that? The answer is because they're scum. So if you go to any of the coins in the top list of crypto, most of them, they do the same thing. The insider VCs, the foundations, dump the tokens, or they spend money first to then dump the tokens. That's what it is. Now, if we're not going to dump Pulse, PulseX, and Hex, because like we don't have any VCs in here, and we have the weakest of weak paper hands, the manos de papel, paper hands in Spanish, we have them exiting. It just makes us wonder, what does the future hold? Because we're looking at the prices, we're like, man, are you ever going to go up? Man, you don't actually need the system to be pumped, friends, from this treasury at all. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm going to tell you something. There's a little coin out there called Ethereum. Maybe you've heard of it. Ethereum ICO did not require the Bitcoin raised to pump it. And I have it here for you, this specific information. So shout out. People ask me as well, why do you use Trayvon's photo here? I don't know why. It looks just scarily, weirdly entrancing. It's like, I don't know why. There's something about this that keeps drawing my face to look at this picture. I think it's great. I think it's attention grabbing. So look, Ethereum raised 31,000 Bitcoin into a fund. 31,000 is how much people put in. The treasury was kept, and then the Ethereum Foundation still dumped tokens on the public. Oh, everyone dumped a lot, man. If I showed you how much, friends, Vitalik, they were dumping 200,000 ETH at a time. Bang, bang, bang. You know how much money they were only getting back then? I believe Vitalik sold for like $220,000. And I think he was like, basically, you can tell the type of person he is. He looked at his life and he's like, hey, I only need about $20,000 of living costs a year. This $200,000 covers me for the next 10 years. I can literally do whatever I want. That was his first sell of Ethereum. Crushed it. This was, by the way, selling at like $1. I'm not kidding. It's selling at like $1, $2, or $3. Not that much, right? Now, here's where it gets interesting. Even after all of this, the Ethereum ICO was never raided by the Department of Injustice, DOJ or the SEC. Okay, so Ethereum raised money from an ICO. They didn't need it to get the bags pumped, which means the network to grow. They didn't actually need those funds. They still dumped anyway, the coins. And no one ever went after them. Something to think about with this PulseChain sacrifice wallet. So, we're just going to have to observe. Is PLS or PLSX going to be dumped? I don't think so. There's no foundation. See, look, we've got to be fair, okay? Because Ethereum, they changed the game. So first, Bitcoin invented the game, and then Ethereum changed the game. We have a lot to owe to them. Vitalik and what he was able to do, the value he was able to add to the world, I mean, it's mind-boggling, okay? What it was like, the fact that you could even get next to Bitcoin in terms of value creation for the world is insane itself, okay? They deserve Nobel Prizes for this, right? Real Nobel Prizes. So when it comes to this, you don't actually need that fund to be spent to pump it up. They spent it on investing for the future in terms of getting nerds with checkered shirts and their pens in their front pocket to make DeFi, to make protocols, to just figure out pockets of demand and try and enhance the world. They did funding to Chainlink. They did funding to Uniswap. They did funding to different protocols. Make a DAI. Hey, make a stablecoin. Make a this, make a that. That's what they did. Public good. They really do call it public good. And it is a public good, friends. It's a public good. But it's also, this word public good, they say that, but it's also strategic to call it a public good. So that's fascinating to know that this is how it worked out. Continuing. On the topic of, Richard Hart and the SEC, the Department of Injustice, right? I'm going to ask this rhetorical question, right? Would the DOJ go and arrest Vitalik for creating expectations that his 31,000 Bitcoin raised would be used to pump the Ethereum price? And the answer is no. Are they going to go and arrest him? No. And here I am telling you, PulseChain and Hex is a lighter version of the Ethereum process. It is. If you take down Richard Hart for PulseChain Hex, then you usually have to take down Vitalik. And that's probably their bigger intention, by the way. The corruption is deep. Saying PulseChain violates anything is like saying Ethereum violates it too. So that's why I want to ask you, right? You have this $600 million treasury. I would buy that like 350,000 Ethereum, and I would like set it so that's about estimated 15 years. Because I know Richard likes to think about things in 15 years, right? He's got 15 years staking, 5 days. So what would happen is you'd have to buy Pulse, PulseX, and Hex. And the yield, you'd actually get real yield. This is the next narrative, by the way, friends. Real yield, okay? No one wants yield in your own coin anymore. That's the new retailer narrative. They want yield in Ethereum. They want yield in a stablecoin. Now, Ethereum yield is actually the greatest yield of all in terms of like it satisfies the blue chip and you have upside potential. That's what they actually really want. So I'm just conveying to you. This is not my choice. Just like repeating this to you. This is what the narrative out there being propagated and everybody writing their own Medium articles and YouTube channels. Real yield. All started from like GMX and all these other protocols that were like collecting fees, okay? So what you could do is you could give out 9% of the treasury per year. So you do 9% of like 350,000, you would get about 31,000 Ethereum distributed every year, about 2,600 per month. But what you would be doing is, so this is if you wanted to take on more risk. So if you said to me, okay, water pistol to my head, lowest risk, lowest, and you're in crypto, you would just buy Ethereum with the treasury and then everybody gets Ethereum distributed over 15 years. That's the lowest risk. If you want to add a bit more risk, you would be buying, instead of normal Ethereum, you would buy the staked Ethereum, okay? Obviously, instead of buying the staked Ethereum, you could run the validators yourselves, for buy 32 ETH pockets. The problem is, who's going to do it? Who's going to be in control of it? You see, it becomes too many complications. You got to use Amazon servers. I mean, it becomes a big operation. But with this staked Ethereum, I mean, there's a lot of money in there. This is DeFiLlama.com. Look at a staked Ethereum. The total value locked here. See this, friends? $14 billion. So you could say, well, if this was ever going to get hacked, it would be hacked by now. The contract's super safe. I mean, you never really want to say super safe in anything with life. Or look at everything that's gone wrong for us. You know what I mean? But that's what you could do. You have an option to do that. So what you would be doing is you would distribute 9% of Ethereum per year. But because of the staked Ethereum, the yield you're getting, you would get plus 3%. And so it could like basically stretch out the duration of how long you have that protocol able to distribute. And this is the biggest part. You would get up only from Ethereum. And I mean real up only. You have the premier blue chip layer 1 smart contract chain. You've got Vitalik's, basically his soul in it. You have up only, like you've allocated 600 million. Imagine by the year 2030 that Ethereum's 16K. Like you've distributed an effective value of 6 billion and you've been earning yield. Wow, never been done before if this works out. Fantastic, right? Fantastic. So people will then, this is what would happen naturally. You're distributing money into an ecosystem. People would probably use that ETH to spend within PulseChain ecosystem over time. Now, this is where it might get controversial because now you're guessing. Now you're like, wait a minute. How do I know these people are going to buy anything with their money? Well, you never know. You just kind of assume that if they bought Hex, PulseX, right? eHex and pHex, if they bought them and maybe even Ink, throw everything in there, then if they got cheaper again and they made money off the real yield Ethereum, they would use that as the base currency to buy support. That's what you'd hope to do. That's why, friends, there's a lot of these things that happen that we're just guessing at the end of the day. You're trying to predict human behavior and demand. I mean, look at this. I mean, yeah, eHex got absolutely freaking decimated beyond the imagination, minus 99.44%. So we don't know the full scope of how these things go out, but that's why we're taking risk. We're taking risk. No one's ever been here before. That's why the upside is so big if this works out. Huge. Phenomenal. Something to think about. So that's what I would personally do. I would use that $600 million. I would convert it into Ethereum. And I go, okay, that's it. Everyone gets to go spend it. And what you actually find is because of the thin liquidity of Pulse, PulseX, and Hex, you'll find that on the lows, people have actually money to spend in the next bear market. Right now, it's not 100% true, but it's better than not having it being given out, right? Because you might find that a lot of people just, as they're getting the yield, you can tell everybody's going to do this. We'll just compound leverage and keep buying PulseX, and Hex the whole way. It's actually what you want. But is it like long-term safe? Well, depends. What about the next bear market? You've already bought everything on the way up, right? But so people are going to do what they're going to do. The market's going to find its own way. Just got to remind you, everything we do carries risk. Everything. DAI is risky, right? So even holding the stablecoin DAI, you can't just do that. Because if you're planning out for, like, say, 10 years, 15 years, DAI has USDC in it. And DAI, friends, just to let you know, man, if the MakerDAO don't want to comply with the US government, which they already are, by the way, but if they don't want to comply and they're being pests, they're going to get taken out. I'm not joking. They will get taken out. They are not as decentralized. It's fake DeFi. They sniff cow farts. You see, it is what it is, okay? I don't like, looking at this reality, but it's true. All right? They want to take you out, they'll take you out. The deep state, they'll get you. If you have a stable coin that's rivaling them, it's over. The only reason why Bitcoin and Ethereum and our Ponzi coins are allowed to even exist, Bitcoin and Ethereum are also Ponzi's, right, tongue in cheek. The only reason we're allowed to exist is because they aren't stable coins. And that's what the government knows. So the government knows, this is the thing. Even though our coins go up, okay, the government knows that if anything you can buy, if it is able to go down and be crushed down by the spot price, they know it's just a matter of time before enough people get hurt, and then they will beg the government for their precious fiat stablecoin because it's known. Even though fiat, the purchasing power, goes down over time, people like the certainty. we understand that it goes down over time, right? It goes down linearly over time like this, and it's like going down, okay, 3%, 3%, 3%. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. And it is true when it comes to markets. Now, me and you, we have peanut brains, okay? We have little peanut brains, and we are equipped for this uncertainty. But most people aren't. That's why most people are better off just going into a coma, not touching their crypto or any portfolio for like 20 years. We know that. So I just want to remind you, right? There is no perfect solution. And at the end of the day, the way I see it, if Ethereum goes to zero, let's say you use the DAI to buy Ethereum and Ethereum went to zero, I mean, the whole industry's gone to zero anyway. And by that, I mean, like, yeah, you'd be able to recover, but it's going to be like, what, 2 to 3 years of minus 99.9%. Like, you've lost everything anyway. You may as well just go get a job and then DCA buy with how small the crypto market goes to in that zone, instead of rather than just like hoping and coping, you know? So I want to know what you think. Do you even think it's a good idea? Would you rather just like do nothing? Of course, pending corrupt SEC, pending corrupt Department of Injustice with their jelly bean squad trying to take on the evil bidding of the US Fed and JP Morgan and the other scum out there, the banking cartel. It is pending with this, but that's personally what I would do, because then like that'd make me turbo bullish, because if you're bullish on Ethereum, then you're bullish on those coins, because you'd have to buy our coins to get access to the ETH yield. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Make sure you like, subscribe, bell button, all. Don't forget who loves you. Mum and dad do. Don't also forget who loves you. Me. Catch you in the next one.